7. marta je američka ambasada pozvala svoje građane da ne idu u shopping molove. To su radili zatim i Britanci i još neko. Što znači da su njihove specijalne službe presrele određene razgovore, došli do informacije i znali su da će to da se dogodi.
This is my video update on this Saturday afternoon, March the 23rd. Let's talk about some news. And of course, we are going to talk about the horrific terrorist attacks in an area just outside of Moscow, the Crocus City Hall and the Crocus shopping area. I'm familiar with this area just outside of Moscow. And I'm sure by now, everyone who's watching this video knows what happened yesterday evening. As I'm recording this video, the news came in that the Russian authorities have captured the terrorists, 4 terrorists who were on the run, as well as apprehending a terrorist cell of 11 people. So they got 11 people and the 4 terrorists who were in a white Renault getaway car. They got them in the Bryansk region, about 100 kilometers from the border with Ukraine. So it looks like they were making their way to the border of Ukraine, the Kharkov area, and the Russian police, the authorities, they started firing at this car. From what I understand, the car, I think, flipped over or something like that. And then the terrorists, these 4 guys, they got out. They made a run for it. But the Russian authorities, they grabbed them. They got them. And we're now actually seeing videos and photos of these terrorists. So the FSB actually came out with a statement, and they said that this was an organized and well-planned terrorist operation. That is what the FSB said. The FSB has reported all of this to Russian President Vladimir Putin. And let me read you what the FSB said. After carrying out the attack on Friday night, the perpetrators tried to escape by car, fleeing towards the Russian-Ukrainian border. The FSB said on Saturday, the criminals intended to cross the Russia-Ukraine border and had relevant contacts on the Ukrainian side. According to the agency, all 4 terrorists were arrested in Russia's Bryansk region within several hours as a result of well-coordinated actions by the security services and the police. The detainees are now being transferred to Moscow. The attacks on Crocus City Hall was carefully planned, with the perpetrators using weapons that had been placed in a stash in advance, the FSB said. Russia's investigative committee also confirmed the 4 suspects who committed the terrorist attack on Crocus City Hall were detained in Bryansk region, not far from the border with Ukraine. So they emphasize in the statements, they emphasize Ukraine a whole lot. It's just a horrific evening yesterday as the news was coming in on this terrorist attack, where I believe the number of civilians killed has passed 100, and you also have, I believe, over 100 people who are in the hospital. And many of those people are in critical condition. You also had many children who were killed by these terrorists. Our thoughts and prayers go to the victims, the families, the people of Moscow, the people of Russia. This was a horrific attack, an absolutely horrific attack, and if you could stomach watching the videos that came out of the attack as it was taking place, it was awful. It was absolutely awful. So the United States, the Biden White House and Kirby was speaking to reporters on the attack that had happened yesterday evening, and they said that they believed that, according to their intel, that they believed that this was ISIS. And Kirby actually told reporters that the United States believes that Ukraine had nothing to do with this. Now, I just want to say, just because the terrorists were making their way to Ukraine, it doesn't necessarily mean that the Zelensky regime or the Ukraine government was behind this. It doesn't mean that they were. It doesn't mean that they were not. We just don't know. We don't know. A lot of talk is focused actually on Ukraine intel, the SPU, I believe the GUR, the military intel, and of course, when you talk about the military intel, you talk about Budanov and these guys. That's what a lot of rumors, a lot of talk is centering around them, and it centers around them because you had many articles in the past from the Washington Post, from the New York Times, which talked about the connections between U.S. intel, the CIA, and Ukraine intel. There was a Washington Post article over the summer which talked about the close ties between the three-letter agencies in the U.S. and Ukraine intel. And then there was the article about a month ago from the New York Times, which talked about the three-letter agencies and their ties to the to Ukraine intel services. And the articles made a point to say that on many occasions, and the Washington Post actually talked about Nadia Dugina and the killing of Nadia Dugina, which happened in Moscow. The articles from the Washington Post and the New York Times, they made a point to say that the excuse me, the three-letter agencies, the CIA, that they've been very frustrated with Ukraine intel because, according to the Washington Post and the New York Times, they have told Ukrainian intel services not to conduct these types of operations, these terrorist operations inside of Russia, and not to go after civilians. That's what the New York Times and the Washington Post reported. So, we do have a type of narrative and a type of history which does point to Ukraine intel in the past. It doesn't mean that they were behind this attack. I don't know who was behind this attack. I have to say that I don't know. And as you are waiting for more information, I'm waiting for more information. But the FSB, in their statement, they mentioned Ukraine three, four times, going towards the border of Ukraine, making their way to Ukraine, having contacts in Ukraine. So, Kirby, he said that the Biden White House does not see Ukraine as being a part of this, but that's going to be a hard one to explain away if you're the Biden White House at this moment. They said it was ISIS. That's what they thought. Who was behind this terrorist attack? They thought it was ISIS, or ISIS-K, to be more specific, which is kind of a ISIS-K is like an offshoot of ISIS, I believe, in Afghanistan or something like that. But when people hear the word ISIS, they automatically associate it with, most people automatically associate ISIS with moderate rebels, and then you go back, you kind of make your way back to the three-letter agencies in the U.S. I mean, when you invoke the word ISIS, most people around the world, go right back to the three-letter intel agencies in the U.S. That's just how it is. That's just a reality of the narrative in and around IS. But the part about Kirby's statement that bothered me. Well, there's two things about the statement from the Biden White House that really got me thinking yesterday evening, as information was coming in about this terrorist attack. The first thing is, why is the United States, why is Kirby speaking on behalf of Ukraine? Why does he come out with a statement saying that the United States, I wonder if I actually have his quote here, where he said the United States has no indication that Ukraine was behind this. One second. Here's an article from the New York Times. U.S. warned about possible Moscow attack before concert hall shooting. And the New York Times reports in this article, John Kirby, a spokesman for President Biden's National Security Council, told reporters on Friday that the White House had no indication at this time, that Ukraine or Ukrainians were involved. He added, "We're taking a look at it, but I would disabuse you at this early hour of any connection to Ukraine." Kirby did say our thoughts obviously are going to be with the victims of this terrible, terrible shooting attack, he also said. So the United States, the Biden White House, to be fair, they did condemn this as a terrorist attack, and they did say that their thoughts are with the victims of this terrible, terrible terrorist attack. They did say that in their statement. But the part of the statement that I take issue with is where he says that that they believe Ukraine is not behind this. There's no indication of a connection to Ukraine. Why is the U.S. speaking on behalf of Ukraine? Now, Podolyak, he did come out, Zelensky's spokesman, he did come out and say that the Zelensky administration is not behind this, Ukraine, or at least the Zelensky administration is not behind this. So he came out very quickly and said that they weren't behind this. But once again, one thing is the Zelensky administration, and another thing is are the intel services in Ukraine. We know that that there's many times in the past where, the intel agencies are kind of their own in Ukraine, are doing their own thing. So we do know that, or at least that's what they tell us, that the intel agencies are doing many things, are conducting many operations without even notifying the central government. But that part where Kirby is speaking on behalf of Ukraine, that got me thinking, why are you so quickly, why are you speaking out about Ukraine and how Ukraine is not involved in this? I was like, that wasn't a smart statement to make. And Maria Zakharova actually jumped on that statement. She said, according to Reuters, she said, and I quote, "On what basis do officials in Washington draw any conclusions in the midst of a tragedy about someone's innocence?" She added that if Washington had information, it should be shared. That's exactly right. How does Washington speak for Ukraine on this terrorist attack? On what basis? What information do you have? And if you have that information, Biden White House, you need to hand it over, to share it with us. The other thing that the Biden White House said, which got me thinking, was when they were so quick to, and the collective West media, they were so quick to say that they believed ISIS was behind this. And, I would have believed that. I would have believed that it was ISIS, and maybe it was. Once again, I have to say, I don't know. I don't know who was behind this. I don't know. You don't know. None of us know for sure, 100%. But when he said it was ISIS, that they believed it was ISIS, and then the media ran with it, and within a couple of hours, the entirety of the collective West media was saying that this attack was done by ISIS or ISIS-K or whatever. When the collective West media, two things, when the collective West media runs with a narrative, right away I'm skeptical. Right away, when they run with a narrative without waiting for any statement from the Russian authorities. The Russian authorities gave no statement. They still, to the time of this recording, they still have not said exactly who they believe was behind this terrorist attack. They have the terrorists. They've apprehended the terrorists. They're going to question them. They're going to interrogate them. And then I imagine we're going to get some sort of statement. We still haven't even heard from Russian President Vladimir Putin. Vladimir Putin has still not come out with a statement. He hasn't spoken to the Russian people yet. So for them to come out and say IS, and then for the collective West media just kind of run with the narrative that it was IS, that got me thinking, what's going on here? What is going on? Shouldn't you wait for the Russian authorities to at least give some sort of statement or indication as to what they believe is going on? How do you, as the United States, the Biden White House, how do you know all of this? How do you know that it was IS? And if you know that it was IS, shouldn't you be speaking with the Russians, or using, at least, if you don't want to speak with the Russians, using an intermediary to at least speak with the Russians before coming out with a public announcement like that? I don't know. It just got me thinking, and then the fact that these terrorists, these scum, the fact that they didn't martyr um, themselves, like they didn't. How do I explain this? They didn't just wait for the Russian police, the Russian military, to come in and kill them in order for them to martyr themselves, which is something that a jihadist terrorist type of group would do. If this was really about making a statement, if this was really some sort of ideological or religious terrorist attack or something like that, usually the terrorists will allow themselves to get killed. They're not going to have a getaway car, a white Renault getaway car, and they're not going to make a run for it to the border with Ukraine. Doesn't make any sense at all. And by the way, from what I understand, one of the terrorists said that, and I think this is information that the FSB allowed to go public. One of the terrorists said that he was paid 500,000 rubles, which is about 5,500 USD, and he got 250,000 rubles up front. So the question is, who paid you? Right? We don't know. We don't know. Maybe by the time this video goes up, we may have more information. So anyway, those are the things that really got me thinking, and I was very skeptical about the whole IS narrative and the whole IS story. And as we get more and more news about this terrorist attack, it is looking like there was no IS or jihadist terrorist component to this. That's how it looks right now. But once again, we don't know, and let's wait and see how all of this unfolds. Dmitry Medvedev, this is what he said. Terrorists understand only terror. In response, no trials or investigations will help if force is not countered with force, and deaths with executions of terrorists and the crackdown on their families, he wrote, noting this was the way of the world. If these terrorists turn out to be the Kiev regime, we can't deal with them and their ideological inspirers differently. All of them must be found and mercilessly destroyed as terrorists, including officials of the state that committed such an atrocity, he added. Quote, death for death, end quote. So this article goes on to say from RT, where I pulled this quote from, it goes on to say, Medvedev's words echoed the line by Russian President Vladimir Putin, voiced in 1999 when he was newly appointed prime minister about to launch a counter-terrorist operation in the North Caucasus. We are going to pursue terrorists everywhere, Putin said at the time. If we find them in the toilet, then we will waste them in the outhouse, end quote. Reminiscing about it in 2011, Putin said the phrasing he used may have been unpleasant, but the sentiment behind it was honest and correct. So that was what Putin said when he was prime minister at the time in 1999. And a lot of what happened yesterday does remind me, I imagine it reminds many people of the conflict in the North Caucasus. And when Russia had won that conflict, things did shift more towards towards a terrorist type of operation, a terrorist component, as Russia had won the actual military conflict. But now you have Medvedev, the prime minister of Russia, making a statement very much like what Putin said when he was prime minister, which gets me thinking about Medvedev's future as probably the front runner for president of Russia. Anyway, that's just on an aside from Medvedev's statement that he made. Yeah, so many world leaders, they sent condolences to the Russian Federation and the people of Russia and the people of Moscow affected by this terrorist attack. Modi, Xi, MBS, the German foreign ministry sent condolences and condemned this terrorist attack. France, the same. I said the United States also. Greece, Cyprus, Spain, Orban, Hungary. The Polish foreign ministry condemned this terrorist attack. The one country, or the one set of countries that I believe, as of the recording of this video, have not sent their condolences or condemned this terrorist attack. Now, I could be wrong. Maybe they have. They have sent messages condemning this terrorist attack. Are the Baltic countries? As a matter of fact, let me see if I actually have it saved somewhere. The Minister of Foreign Affairs of Lithuania actually tweeted, "Let's not lose focus." That is what Gabrielis Landsbergis tweeted out. Let's not lose focus. That is inappropriate. That is, and I'm being diplomatic. Now I'm being very diplomatic when I say that was a very, very inappropriate tweet or post from the foreign minister of Lithuania. You're better off saying nothing than putting out a post like that one. Let's not lose focus. Very bad look for the foreign minister of Lithuania. So that's where we are with this story. A lot of people are, I'm just trying to think if there's anything else. A lot of people are talking about the statement that the U.S. State Department put out on March 7th, where they warned American citizens in Russia. I don't know, was it specific to Moscow, or was it just Russia in general? They warned American citizens, like a type of travel advisory, to not go to any public events. Specifically, don't attend any concerts. They actually put that in there. Don't attend any concerts, and that was on March 7th. Now, we don't know when the U.S. Posted that warning to American citizens. What we don't know, or what I haven't been able to find, is if the U.S. intel agencies shared some information with Russian intel agencies about what they knew back on March 7th about some sort of terrorist attack, or did they just post this on social media and just left it there? I don't know. I don't know what actually happened behind the scenes. All we got was a post from the U.S. government warning Americans not to go to public events and not to attend any concerts. But I don't know if they were communicating with Russian intel agencies and telling them that they had certain information about something that was about to happen. So that is everything at this moment, Cyprus time, afternoon local Cyprus time. I'm sure as the day progresses, we're going to get more and more information because things are moving very quickly on this horrific incident. And I think I'm going to leave the video there. You know, Peskov said yesterday that Russia is pretty much at war, which is the first time you've had a high-ranking Russian official make such a statement. Russia was at war, he said, once NATO and the collective West started pouring in weapons and mercenaries and money into Ukraine. That's when Russia understood that it was at war with a NATO proxy, and uh, and that was a huge statement from Peskov. And now you have this terrorist attack, a horrific, absolutely horrific terrorist attack. Hundreds dead right outside of Moscow, and we don't know who did this, but if if things point to Ukraine or Kiev or the intel agencies, then things are going to get very, very bad for those that are behind this terrorist attack. Uh, I really don't know what else to say. If you go by the statements from the FSB, if I had to go by what they're saying, they're looking at Ukraine. I think that's pretty obvious, at least if you go by the FSB statements. That's the way things look according to the wording of what the FSB is saying. Anyway, I will leave it there, everybody, and yeah, our prayers and our thoughts go out to the people of Moscow and the people of Russia.